Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The SEC's important responsibilities to oversee the markets are broad and complex and need sufficient funding to be successfully executed. To fulfill its responsibilities, the committee recommends funding the Commission at the Administration's funding year 2016 budget request level of $1.722 billion. The SEC's budget is funded by small industry transaction fees, so fully funding the Commission comes at no cost to the taxpayer. Full funding for the SEC is essential for it to oversee the rapidly expanding and ever-changing financial markets, to establish rules of the road governing those markets, and to enforce those rules to protect investors and preserve market integrity. The SEC has been implementing key provisions of both the Dodd-Frank Act and the Jobs Act, which, when combined, added 100 new rulemaking responsibilities for the Commission. The Dodd-Frank Act addressed areas that exacerbated the 2008 financial crisis or that were yawning gaps in the Commission's coverage of the markets and market participants. For example, the SEC now must regulate and oversee a major portion of the market for credit default swaps, which destabilized the markets during the crisis. An additional 2,500 exempt reporting advisors to hedge fund and other private funds, and 1,000 municipal advisors. The Commission is also now charged with enforcing new executive compensation disclosures and protecting whistleblowers. The SEC has already successfully completed 72% of the rulemakings contemplated by Dodd-Frank. Congress passed the Jobs Act to reduce regulatory burdens on smaller businesses when raising capital, but also provided sufficient authority for the Commission to protect investors against fraud. It is critical that the SEC be able to hire personnel with the necessary expertise and invest in IT systems to adequately examine and oversee these important measures. The SEC must have the resources it needs to regularly examine the various entities it oversees, including investment advisors. The SEC estimates that beginning in 2016, it will oversee more than 25,000 market participants, including nearly 12,000 investment advisors with more than $65 trillion in assets under management, more than 800 investment company complexes managing over 10,500 mutual funds and exchange-traded funds, approximately 4,500 broker-dealers with more than 160,000 branch offices, 18 national security exchanges, and approximately 450 transfer agents. Over the last decade, the number of registered investment advisors has increased by more than 40%, and the assets under management of these advisors increased more than twofold to almost $55 trillion. Yet the resources available to the SEC to examine investment advisors have severely lagged the number and sophistication of these advisors, so that staff was able to examine only 10% of investment advisors in 2014. In 2014, the SEC filed a record 755 enforcement actions and obtained a record $4.6 trillion in disgorgement of ill-gotten gains and penalties. As a result, the agency is able to return hundreds of millions to injured investors and American taxpayers. Regarding the funding request, I would note that this committee previously approved an authorization for the SEC when it passed Dodd-Frank supporting funding of $2.25 billion in funding year 2015. Adopting this amendment will send a clear message to the Budget and Appropriations committees both, that the Financial Services Committee supports fully funding this important Wall Street overseer. I yield back the balance of my time.